Hello, and welcome to I Am Movies. In a world full of crimes, an ex-defense attorney named Frank Valera enters a restaurant. After carefully observing his surroundings, he enters the kitchen after listening to the coughing of a man. As Frank enters, the cook starts fighting him, but he overpowers him brutally, claims that the viewers may think he is mad, and takes us to his past. 1 year earlier, Frank was a very successful defense attorney and claimed that he used to speak more than 80,000 words daily, more than the combined average of men and women. Out of those 80,000 words, he only liked 3. I love you when he was with his daughter, Olivia,
I love you,
and wife, Susan. Frank is very happy with his family, and on the day of Olivia's talent show, Susan contacts him and requests that he come and join them, as Olivia is waiting for him. Olivia talks to her father and tells him that he will like her performance, and Frank lies to her and says that he is on his way to them. Soon, he tries to leave the office, but his friend stops him for a few things. Olivia gets sad to see her father's seat empty, but she still beautifully sings his favorite song. Frank notices that it has started raining while Susan records Olivia's performance on her phone. Frank leaves the office but gets stuck in the rain. After a while, he reaches the talent show but finds no one there and contacts Susan, asking her to contact him back after apologizing to her.
sorry. Things just got away from me at work.
He returns home and places a teddy bear on Olivia's bed as an apology, which adds to her collection of such teddy bears. Frank checks his phone, learns that Susan and Olivia are at dinner, and watches her performance video. As time passes, Frank is concerned and contacts Susan, requesting that she put her anger aside and reply to his call as he is worried now. Soon, the police arrive at his door and lead him to where Officer Frustager welcomes him to a crime scene. Upon checking the dead bodies, he learns that it's his wife and daughter and panics, but is stopped to prevent contamination of the crime scene. The next day, Susan and Olivia's funeral is performed, after which Susan's father tells Frank that he doesn't think that their murderers will be arrested.
Chances are they'll never catch the people who killed them.
And if they are arrested, a slick-mouthed defense attorney like Frank will get them free. He mentions that he did not care until his daughter was happy, and as they are dead now, he does not want to hear a word from Frank. Frank is broken at the death of his beloved ones and spends time drinking and repeating the song with his daughter. He approaches Officer Lustiger, who does not pay him much attention, and mentions that they have found no leads on the case except for a few golden fibers that, upon checking, appear to be very fine. Frank requests that he put his phone to one side and questions whether he can check the file, but Lustiger denies showing it. Frank leaves the police station and drinks a lot, after which he notices and follows a few men to the cage fight. He claims that he knew that justice wouldn't be served, so he found a way of doing penance. He infuriates a man who beats him badly and starts doing this daily to punish himself for making empty promises to his wife and daughter. His associates decide to let him go on a holiday to recover mentally, and he adds that he also does not want to be around them. Frank keeps hurting himself in the cage fights until, one day, he is rescued by his friend Peyton. Peyton and I sit in a bar when Frank mentions that he promised his wife and daughter to attend the talent show the same night they died.
I meet them at my daughter's talent show the night they were killed.
He received the video of her performance, which was amazing, but Peyton suggests he not blame himself for everything that happened. Peyton tells him that he also gets mixed up in bar fights, which could be alarming for his career as a cop. He then reveals that Frank's case will be sent for reprioritizing, meaning that it will be cold but not dead. Frank is worried to hear this and mentions that he knows how it works because he has made a lot of money. Frank is confused on his way home when he encounters a 13-year-old prostitute. Frank tells her she does not belong here and suggests she return home when a man approaches the girl. Frank tries to talk to the man when he hits him and takes out his knife. Frank fights and gains the upper hand when 2 of the man's friends try to approach him, and the girl stabs Frank and leaves with the men. Frank picks up a book to stop bleeding when he learns that he has picked up meditation by Marcus Aurelius. Frank reads the line, "Punish only he who has committed a crime," and realizes that he has been punishing himself while the murderers are still on the run. Frank reads the book that enlightens him, and he starts training himself to avenge the killing of his family. He starts working out and takes fighting classes. Eventually, after some time, he masters the skill of fighting and is ready to fight for his family. He mentions that the book was published 2,000 years ago.
Meditations was written nearly 2,000 years ago.
And focuses on Stoicism. Stoics are the ones who take vows until they complete what they are determined to do. So Frank vows not to speak a single word until he avenges his family's demise. The next day, he visits where Susan and Olivia's dead bodies were found and notices a houseless encampment. He observes everything inside the encampment and captures pictures. As Frank returns to his car, he finds a few Russians around it who demand the car keys and his wallet. Upon delaying, they let their dog attack him, but instead it ran away. Frank decides to give them what they want and attacks them. He overpowers them easily and when shown pictures of his family, he acknowledges that they don't know anything about them. Suddenly, one of the Russians gets up and shoots him, but Frank knocks him out and fades away when a girl rushes to help him. The next day, Frank finds himself on the bed and gets up as the girl approaches. The girl tells him she is Alma,
My name is Alma.
and Alma mentions that she is a nurse and volunteers for the Homeless Society. She adds that she found him shot yesterday, and as she gets ready to check his wound, Frank simply walks away. Upon leaving the house, Frank finds the Russian's dog waiting for him, and it starts following him. Frank brings him home and serves the food, after which he starts working on his mission. He notes that the Russians did not kill his wife and wonders why Susan had opened her windows in the rain. Suddenly, Alma shows up at his door and reveals that he left his wallet at her house and that she found his address on his driving license. Frank lets her in when she insists on checking his wound, and after changing the dressing, she proclaims that she cannot be fooled and knows that Frank can speak.
You don't have me fooled, you know. I know you can talk.
As she found him muttering two names, Sue and Olivia, in his dream. She has questions about them and feels sorry after learning that they died. Alma looks at all of Frank's research, mentions that she knows the area very well, and offers him help. Later that night, Frank learns that the dog is a transport dog with a sharp sense of smell. Frank brings the dog to the murder site, and after getting Susan's scent, the dog leads him to her wallet lying inside the dump. Frank claims that if his family was murdered here, the man inside the encampment could be a perfect witness, or even the murderer. He waits for the man, and as he arrives at his place, Frank tries to follow him, but the man spots him and escapes. Meanwhile, Alma is working at her hospital when a few Russian gang members approach her and demand drugs, but she refuses to do so. The Russians leave her after warning her that she will quit only when they tell her.
Not until I say so.
Suddenly, Frank appears and leads her to the encampment when she informs him that the man who lives here is named Shivers, and she often spots him there smoking. The movie returns to the present when Frank beats Shivers and claims that he may still be considered crazy, but at least his reason for being like this has been revealed. He shows him the picture of Susan and Olivia and learns he recognizes them, but he is not the killer. Shivers admits that he witnessed a police officer kidnapping and murdering them inside the warehouse, but he did not interfere as he wanted no trouble.
I got enough trouble already.
He also confesses to stealing the money from Susan's purse and hiding it. Frank gets the information and leaves for the police station, where he gets a chance and accesses Frustiger's computer, stating that he needs to find the officer appointed to patrol the same area where Shivers witnessed everything. Frank gets the desired information, is surprised to see a familiar name, and hopes he is not the killer. Frank is seen outside Peyton's house the next day, indicating that he is his prime suspect. Frank follows him everywhere and learns that he is a fierce fighter. Frank keeps an eye on him for many days and switches cars so Peyton may not recognize him. Frank claims that he kept following Peyton for many days, hoping for a hint or mistake, and eventually he spots Peyton hiding his keys outside the house while he leaves for his job. Frank enters his house and checks everything until he finds a bag containing his magazines and a few pieces of paper, showing that Peyton helped the suspect in Peyton's 12-year-old daughter's murder get out of jail. Frank then recalls his meeting with Peyton about the death of his family and finds a camera containing many pictures of Frank and his family, showing that Peyton had his eyes on them for a long time. After a while, Peyton returns home and finds Frank's picture on his car's windscreen. Peyton checks the pictures and reads the note where Frank invites him to the same warehouse where he killed his family. Later that night, Peyton arrives at the location where he finds Frank's car and picks up his gun. Frank appears before him as he steps out of the car, and Peyton starts shooting at him. Frank hides when Peyton tells him how he helped the murderer of his 12-year-old daughter get back on the streets and considers it karma for what he did to him. Peyton then infuriates him, telling him his wife was a brave lady while his daughter kept screaming for her father to show up and save her, but he did not. Frank gets sad listening to this and attacks Peyton. He makes him drop his gun, after which the duo fights. Initially, Peyton overpowers Frank, stabs him with sharp iron objects, and chokes him from behind. Frank then loses his mind and turns the table. He gains the upper hand on Peyton and holds the same sharp object in his hand to stab him in the neck, but he stops himself. The next day, Frustiger is surrounded by the media, who question him about Peyton's arrest and whether someone else was involved. Frustiger informs them that no evidence of someone else's involvement has been found, and there is nothing worse than a bad cop in society.
There's nothing worse than a bad cop.
Frank and Alma listen to the press conference when the duo arrives at the graves of Frank and Olivia. He claims that among the thousands of words he speaks, his favorite is telling them that he loves them.
I love you.
He wishes his daughter to return so that he may tell her she was right and that he liked her performance a lot. And that's the end of this recap. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.